Okay, so we'll look at Dead Rising 4 at 21:9. The Dead Rising series has always sort of been around, and I honestly didn't give it much thought when the game originally released, but I'm so glad I came back to it because I've really enjoyed playing it lately. I know there are a lot of people arguing both sides, some saying it's fun and some slagging it off, but I sit firmly in the positive side. This is great fun. If you come to play with the right expectations, you'll really have a good time. But first, let's shoot over the 21:9 support. This is a solid PC port. It wasn't great at launch, but now, a long time since, things are much improved. There is native 21:9 support, but it's very much limited to just gameplay. At least here, everything is 21:9 with the HUD shifting to the sides nicely, and screen effects use the entire screen space. There is only one instance where the HUD doesn't quite fit perfectly. When investigating an area, the points you need to tick off are half of the screen on the right hand side, which is annoying as they are helpful tips as to what you're looking for. However, when you whip out your camera, they appear center screen properly. I'm guessing the idea was that you weren't supposed to see those tips at 16:9 unless you were aiming down the camera, so they were just supposed to be hidden, and with our extended view we can now see them, so yeah, it looks a bit weird. Talking of the camera, this is 16:9 with black bars, and that applies to all menus and all cutscenes. A real annoyance, as the cutscenes are in-game rendering, so why they couldn't just expand to 21:9, I don't know. Some cutscenes also have some flickering and glitching as well on the sides. Performance-wise, the game runs decently well. It obviously now has had time to go through multiple patches to sort major issues out, and so here you have a solid PC game. At 3440 by 1440 on a GTX 1080 Ti, I was able to maintain generally 70 to 80 FPS the majority of the time, on ultra everything settings. However, this would dive to hovering just over 60 when in hordes of zombies, with blood and gore flying everywhere. Now, whilst I hear some of you going, "What? That's not great performance," it actually is damned impressive when you really appreciate the huge quantity, and I mean huge quantity, of individually rendered zombies and the decently expansive environment around you. And all assets look gorgeous with solid textures and a very lovely recreation of a small town and large mall. I can't bash the graphics or performance. Yes, performance arguably could be slightly better, but I cannot accept it being labelled bad. General PC support wise, there is controller and mouse and keyboard support, surround sound support, and of course an unlocked frame rate. So if you've never played a Dead Rising game, then very simply, it's a light-hearted yet very violent zombie killing game. The story is always a bit over the top, what you can do is also very crazy and exaggerated, and it's just aiming for fun sandbox killing. That's the best way I can describe it. You aren't coming to a Dead Rising game for a deep story, you're coming because the gameplay is plain enjoyable. And I totally stand by the fact that this game holds that mantle well, just like the previous titles. You can build a huge array of mental weapons by combining basic parts found around the world. Pretty much anything you can pick up can be used as a weapon. Each weapon has a unique way of being used, really. If it's throwing ice out, or fire, or slicing enemies up with grass cutters, or jamming exploding fireworks into enemies, or blinding them with Christmas wreaths, it's all weird, wacky, but fun. The other part of the Dead Rising games has also been the abundance of zombies, similar sort of to Left 4 Dead in the sense that each enemy alone isn't really dangerous, but because there are masses of them, they can overwhelm you in pure numbers. Now that said, again, this isn't looking to be a tense, gripping survival game. You can get hit tons, there is lots of food to heal yourself, you really just are there to enjoy smashing your way through millions of dead enemies. That said, there are also a lot of very alive enemies with guns that tie into the story, and they provide a nice change up to gameplay pacing as you play. You tackle them differently to zombies. You can also drive a load of vehicles in this. The driving mechanic isn't amazing, but it's better than many other titles where driving is a side part and so not generally given much thought. Cars struggle to drive through huge numbers of enemies and get slowed down, but they're still a great way to mow down the undead. Some vehicles can even be modded in the same way that weapons can be, and the types of vehicles possible to build are as insane as the rest of the game. I should note the base that is produced from firing the mounted machine gun on the Hummer is something else. It is way more intense than anything else in the game, and anyone else in my house knew I was using it when I was firing. This thing is just so out of proportion when it comes to sound levels. You also have an exosuit in this. Yes, every game seems to have it now, but this really adds to the craziness, and they're brilliant. They pick up items around the world, and they can be used for short amounts of time until their power runs out, but they are just awesomely fun to use. And when wearing an exosuit, you can use weapons that you can't normally pick up. You can rip poles out of the ground, and yeah, I just love them. Upgrade trees in this are very standard, nothing really new or innovative, but still solid and fun. They add a reason to want to get more XP and just generally keep fighting well. Character customization is also a big part of this, and it doesn't affect your stats, but it just adds to the hilarity and fun of the whole thing. Dressing up as a machine gun wielding knight whilst riding a kid's bike is always going to be funny. The whole thing really is a playground. As I keep hitting on, it's just about fun, just having a laugh while still getting well-rounded gunplay and melee combat. I gotta say though, that one thing that did frustrate me is the dodge mechanic. He just never dives in the right direction that I want him to. It always ends up annoying me, but luckily it's not a huge point. I really enjoyed playing this game, and I totally recommend picking it up. You can get it for pretty cheap now as well, as the game is getting slightly old. Just make sure you go in with the right mindset, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. I'm also going to give it a WAF score of 2. It just has far too many 16:9 black barred moments for it to get a higher score. So I hope that gives you some information how the game runs at 21:9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For any of the games at 21:9, head over to my channel, the WAF website. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to support the channel, the links to my Patreon page are in the description, and Amazon affiliate links are there too. See you later.
Search the area.